Here are 5 reasons to start a career in radiography.
Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. I want to share a little story with you. I was kayaking yesterday with my wife and a couple of my daughters. I've taken some much needed time off to unwind and recharge the battery. And my one of my other daughters texted me and said, "Dad, my boss would like to meet with you and hear your success story." And I thought, what success story would that be? And I'm telling my wife, she asked me to share my success story. So I respond, which success story would that be? To which she replied, "You're going back to school success." And right as she was sending me that and I was reading it, my wife began to recant that, have you forgotten all you have done? I think that's something that we tend to do is forget our accomplishments once we've achieved certain milestones. So I thought real quick, since I do get asked fairly often in my field how to get into it, I would list for you kind of the 5 reasons that I got into the field of radiology. The first reason was demand. I took a look at the demand. At the time, I was probably, 28 years old, and was cleaning and servicing swimming pools in Phoenix, Arizona. While that job allowed me to kind of set my own schedule, I was also beholden to getting paid whenever the customers felt like paying their bills. I was sitting on top of Squaw Peak one day. It was a mountain you could hike back there. And I was looking out over the valley, and I was trying to think of what line of work could I go into that was fairly consistent, that maybe wouldn't ebb and flow with economic problems or social issues, things like that. As I looked around, I thought, there's a lot of people here in the valley, and they're all going to need health care sooner or later. They're all going to need medical attention sooner or later. And so I began to research the different jobs in healthcare. Every hospital needs X-ray techs. Item number 2 out of the 5 reasons I chose radiology is cost. You can go one of 2 ways for a technical certificate in radiography, through the private school system or the public school system. Now, the public school systems are around $6,000 or $7,000 for the whole 2-year program, which is a smoking deal. Considering you can get scholarships and grants and work study and all kinds of things to help you pay for it, $6,000 is a pretty good deal to come out of school in 2 years making $18 an hour. Now, if you look at the private schools, they start around $20,000 and go up at least, roughly. The problem with the public schools the problem is that everybody wants to go there because it's affordable, which means they usually have a waiting list. In the cases that I saw, it was usually a 2 to 3 year waiting list. And I felt I was getting old at the age of 27, and I needed to hurry up and get on the ball. I had a family growing, and I needed to start making some money soon. So I chose a private school where I could get in faster, meant getting out faster. And I believe I paid about $19,000 back in 2000. In 2003 to 2005 was the 2 years that I went to Xray school. I did find some grants and some scholarships and some work study programs to help me out. I did have to pay some of that myself. And luckily, Mom stepped in and helped me out too. Thanks, Mom. So number 3 was, what kind of opportunity do I have to advance in that career? And as I looked around and investigated, I found that Xray is kind of the general hub of an imaging department. While those guys are really, really busy because they take care of the emergency room, the intensive care, the operating room, any outlying clinics in the area, inpatients, outpatients, they are just all over the place. It's really the central hub, and from there, you can be cross-trained on the job or go back to school for something additional or advanced. You can go from X-ray to CT or computed tomography, CT scanning, also called CAT scanning. That is something you can train on the job for. And it takes roughly, in my experience, about 3 months. Not every hospital will do it, but most will, because it's cheaper to train from within than to hire from outside. And it builds employee morale to know that you can advance up the ladder. So you can go into CT from X-ray, or you can go into MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging. It roughly takes about 6 months for on-the-job training for that modality. And then there's also interventional radiology, or IR, or the IR lab, sometimes it's called. That can take significantly more training, a year to 2 years to learn what you're doing in there, but you can go straight from X-ray to IR. Those are the three you can learn on the job in advance, and each one comes with a raise. CAT scan was the smallest raise I saw. It was usually about $2 an hour. MRI was more, and IR significantly more. Now, if you do want to go back to school, or if for some reason those three don't float your boat, you can go into ultrasound, which is what I did. It was an additional 2 years of school. It raised my pay, I'd say about $5 an hour or so at the time. And I did it concurrently while I was an X-ray tech. Another program you can go to is nuclear medicine. It's another 2 years. It's another significant jump in pay over your standard X-ray pay. And nuclear medicine is its own modality, its own animal within the diagnostic imaging world, uses radioactive isotopes. And then if you go nuclear medicine, you can kind of pair off once again into an even more advanced modality called PET scanning, which is positron emissions. Only nuclear medicine techs can do PET scanning. It's kind of a niche subspecialty of nuclear medicine, which makes even more money. But those are kind of your options. So that's the advancement, career advancement pathway for an X-ray tech. And then there's always management. I advanced personally. I went to X-ray school and I learned CT scanning actually while I was in my X-ray clinical rotation, which is another little caveat advantage of this whole pathway. So I learned how to do CAT scans from the person who was teaching me X-ray. And when I graduated X-ray school, I actually got a job as a CT tech at one hospital who did CT and X-ray, and an X-ray tech at another hospital. And that's not even including things like radiology practitioner assistant, or the RPA, which is a program Weber State offers, which is kind of like a physician assistant for radiologists. It's a very exciting program. I encourage you to go look into that if that's something you're interested in. There's also RAs, radiologist assistants, that are out there. Several schools offer the RA program. Also worth checking into. More pay than the modalities I have mentioned. And that fourth reason has to do with work-life balance. The work-life balance is important. It's a common phrase in the culture now, and your typical shifts are no higher than 12 hours. Some people may go, oh, that's a long shift, 12 hours. But if you think about it, 3 12-hour shifts is 36 hours. That puts you right within a 40-hour work week, and you'd have 4 days off a week. 3 12s, 4 days off a week. I love that schedule. The fifth and final reason is the pay. There are so many different add-ons, if you will, to the pay structure in this field. Let me just explain a couple of them. You go to X-ray school, you get offered an hourly rate. That is your base pay rate. If you take any work hours outside of the normal day, and normal day typically means 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you take any hours outside of that, you get an incentive pay. So in a hospital environment, because there's about 5 different environments a radiology tech can work in, and in a hospital environment, you can work a day shift, like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., one of those typical daytime type shifts, or you can come in on second shift, or swing shift it's sometimes called. And swing shift gets an extra incentive pay, or what they call a shift differential, or shift diff. And that may be another 5% or another $2 to $3 an hour, whatever that hospital pays. But you get extra pay on top of your base pay for being willing to come in on the second shift or to fill one of those harder to fill positions. Now you get to third shift. Those are the people that come in and work overnight. They're called graveyards. They get an additional or a higher shift differential than what these swing shifters get. And it may be as much as 7%, 10%. It's significantly more. Now, additional to that is if you take shifts on days that are outside of the normal standard work week, for example, Saturdays and Sundays. If you work a Saturday or a Sunday, whether it be a day shift, swing shift, or night shift, there's an additional shift diff for working the weekends, because hospitals know nobody wants to work weekends. Everybody wants to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, have their evenings with their families, and have their weekends off to go to the lake or go fishing or skiing or whatever. So they offer additional incentives for the weekend. When I graduated, I immediately took the Friday, Saturday, Sunday night shift at a hospital covering the X-ray department. They offered me around $17 an hour. I believe it was $3 an hour for taking the night shift, and an additional $7 an hour for taking the weekends. So I was around 26 bucks an hour fresh out of Xray school. But those are some little caveats that aren't generally known to the main population on how you can make more money in the field of radiology. On top of that, because there's more, these hospitals that have to be open 24/7, 365, it doesn't make sense for management to staff them fully staffed around the clock. There's just not enough to do later on in the evening. And as you start to get past midnight, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, not a lot going on. So you don't want to staff an X-ray tech and a CT tech and an ultrasound tech and an MRI tech, and everybody's sitting there all night long playing bridge. So what they do is they put you on call. So to be on call means that you are available wherever you're at to be called and come into work within typically a 30-minute window. And they utilize this for instances like, let's say you've got 2 X-ray techs and a CT tech working the night shift at a hospital, and all of a sudden the emergency room fills up with a lot of traumas, and a surgeon in the OR decides he wants to do a surgery. Well, you don't have enough techs to run up there and do the surgery and cover everything in the main department, so you call in the call tech. And they come in just long enough to take care of that surgery, and then they go back home. Now, the beauty of being on call is, for one, you get paid standby pay, meaning you get paid just to be available, even if you don't get called in. And that typically is between $2 and $3 an hour. Standard I've seen is $3 an hour. So let's say you cover a Saturday, Sunday, when everybody's off enjoying the weekend. Those are 2 24-hour shifts, so you're talking 48 hours. If you cover 48 hours at $3 an hour, you just made $144 on your paycheck just to be available. Now, if you did that 2 weekends in a row, you're talking almost $300 added onto your paycheck just to be available. The other side of call is, if you do get called in, you're going to get paid a minimum of 2 hours at time and a half. So in other words, if you make $20 an hour as an X-ray tech and you get called in for a callback, you're now making $30 an hour for a minimum of 2 hours. So let's say you got called in that scenario to go up and run the operating room. There's a C-arm up there that we use that helps to take fluoroscopy images during surgeries. You ran up there to cover that C-arm. Let's say it only took you an hour to do it. You clocked in, you suited up, you went up there, took you an hour, you got back out and headed home. You're still going to make 2 hours for the pay at $30 an hour. So you made 60 bucks for that 1 hour's worth of work. Now, can you get called in all night long? Sure you can. But can you get called in for 30 minutes? It's possible. So you got your base pay, you got your shift differential for after hours, and your shift differential for weekends, and your standby pay, and your on-call or callback pay. These are just some of the ways you can increase your pay working in the field of radiology. To recap real quick, 5 reasons I chose radiography was 1, there's always going to be a demand in healthcare, and there's always going to be a need for imaging technologists. 2, the cost to benefit ratio, in my opinion, is very good. A lot of hospitals will actually pay for your schooling, and you agree to work for them for X number of years based on how many of years they finance you. Potential to advance was number 3. I named all the different modalities you can go into, from CT to MRI to IR to ultrasound, nuke med, PET scanning, management, lots of different options, lots of career advancement opportunities. Or the last 2 was work-life balance and the pay. Work-life balance, you don't have to work in the hospital. You can go work at a doctor's office. He may have an X-ray room in his clinic. And he's just an 8 to 5. Those doctors don't stay very late when they have their own clinics. And sometimes they have hours for an entire day in the operating room. So you may have an orthopedic doctor who only has his office open Monday through Thursday because Friday he's in the OR all day. Well, then he only needs an X-ray tech Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. And those guys typically take an hour or longer for lunch too. So you're down for that as well. So you can work your standard 8 to 5 job, no call, no weekends, no nights. You can work a hospital, overnight, weekends, whatever you want there. You can work an outpatient clinic like an imaging center or an urgent care. Very limited call on those situations, not really overnights, but they do extend their hours later in the evening, sometimes up to midnight. And then the last little call out I'll give you is the mobile services that are out there. On occasion, you'll find a technologist who's entrepreneurial enough that he'll realize there's a need, if you're in a populated enough area, to take a mobile unit and go out to nursing homes and places where the patients maybe can't travel in as often as necessary, or large companies who would rather tell their employees, it's time for your annual physical. There's a van outside that's offering mammograms. There's a van outside that's offering chest x-rays. There's a van outside offering all your blood work that you can get done. You don't even have to leave the campus. Just hop out there for 30 minutes, get everything done. It saves them the travel to the hospital and back, saves them some of the money because the company pays for it. So there are mobile services out there that you can work for as an x-ray tech and just drive around and do x-rays of people in their homes or in nursing homes or at businesses. I knew a guy that had a real steady contract at a mine because down in the mines, they inhale a lot of junk into the lungs. And so he regularly would drive out to one of the mines in Arizona and do chest x-rays on all the guys just to make sure they weren't developing anything. There you go in a nutshell. If you found this information helpful, please hit the like button. And if you want to see anything else I put out there in the field of radiology, I'm going to try to put some more content related to the space of radiology, be it how to get into the x-ray schools or how to study while you're in there or how to beef up your resume, which leads me to another point. If this kind of thing interests you and you want to go apply to an x-ray school, make sure you do your due diligence that they're accredited through the proper accreditation body. Second, you're going to need some help with your resume, and you're going to need to make a plan on how you're going to get in, how you're going to navigate the 2 years. Do you have bills to pay while you're going? You're going to have to work and go to school at the same time. So one place I encourage you to check out is SkillShare. SkillShare is an online classroom that has over 29,000 classes, of which includes how to build up your resume. So I'm going to post a link below. I have an affiliate link. If you click it, it'll take you there and you can get 2 free months of SkillShare classes. Take your time, go through whatever you need to clean up your resume, and there may be other things that interest you. So I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more, and thanks for stopping by.